Yeah, hello gang, Sharpshot21 here. As you can see, we are outside and working on the Ranger. It is time to start putting this thing back together. We are doing the driver's side, passenger side I'll do off camera. I've already cleaned it up because it's been a week or two since I was in there, so stuff has flash rusted. But now it is time to get the spindle back on. Well, the knuckle and the spindle and the axle. So, let's get to it. Alright. So, it is time to put this back in. Not too bad to do. One thing that you do need to do, well, you may or may not, is burn this bolt back out. Now, I've got a little bit of never sees on here somewhere. I like to never seize my castle nuts. Actually, I missed a step here. Thing that I forgot is we forgot to do the greasers. Alright, grease zerks are in. Now we can put this on. Don't forget the zerks. That makes it a little difficult to grease this and they're hard to put on afterwards. Alright, so that's sitting in there. Found the socket. Alright, we're just going to leave that light for the moment. We do have to run a cotter pin through there and torque it properly. Now, we do have a new camber bushing to put in. Because the old ones got hammered. Oh yeah. This is a 2-degree one for a 4x4. Need to scrape the label off, so I'll be back when that's done and then we'll get it installed. Label's off. I'm going to grease this a little bit. Now the reason I grease this is because this is going to need to get twisted in onto new alignment, because these bushings are obviously not the originals. I'm not going back anywhere close to factory position. Now this does require a little bit of the beat to fit mentality. So that's in. But it's not in. This is going to require a little bit of, you get it. You get it in there a bit. Drive it all the way down. The lock ring spacer, or lock ring ridge should be visible, but we are not going to be able to get the lock ring on there. That's not a problem. When you run this pinch bolt down and torque it, that will lock everything in place. It's not going to come out. Really, the lock ring is to keep this from going anywhere, but you saw how much we had to beat that in. That's not a problem. So now we've got to get the torque wrench out and torque that down. There's quite a range. I think it's 88 foot-pounds to 133 foot-pounds. You got to get the cancellations on the nut in the right space so you can run the cotter pin through it. Once that's done, then we will run the axle through and get the spindle back on. So give me a second to get the torque wrench set up and we will get that done. Alright, so I misspoke slightly. It is 89 to 133, so call it 90 to 135. I've got the torque wrench set at 90 right now. Wait for the click. And 90 put us right where we're supposed to be, so I'm not going to go any further than that. For those who don't know, this is my Icon 250 foot-pound, 50 to 250 foot-pound double beam torque wrench. This thing is awesome. I love it. Alright, let me grab the cotter pin, put this away, grab the cotter pin, and then we'll finish this up. Okay. So, cotter pin. People want to stick it in with the loop like this. No, you want it like this. Alright. Alright. Really, you just need to bend the one leg over so it doesn't come out. Easy enough. So that's how that goes. Now, time to put the axle shaft in. So now, one thing on this axle shaft. Now remember, we put the grease zerk in. We have to take this back out, because the zerk does not fit through the spindle opening. Okay, that is in. Zerk is up. Put the zerk back in here. Okay, so that's it. Now, one thing that you need to be aware of when you're doing this on the passenger side, if you have pulled the yoke, or the stub shaft and the slip side, the inner side, and left the center section in, when you put it back together, you need to make sure that on the center section the yoke ears align with the side you pulled out. So if you've got the two halves that slide, if this is one ear, this needs to be the other ear. They need to be aligned. If they're misaligned, that's going to cause them to eat themselves apart. They need to be in a line. These are, I think, 27 spline shafts, so there is some room for error there. It may take you a few times to get that correct. It took me a handful of times to do it. So don't be too afraid of taking it apart, put it back together again a handful of times. It took me several. I did that side. Now, one thing that I want to do before I put this together, yes, I already greased the spindle. I want to pack this side with grease as well. Just to keep it all as watertight as I can get it. just because this is going to be something that doesn't get used a whole lot, but I want the axle shaft to behave, and I need the spindle to behave too. So I'm going to put a light coat on all this. That will suffice for that. Alright. So, spindle. Remember, these two cuts go up. Alright, spindle's on. Now we've got the original nuts. That's fine. That's a little too big. Where'd the small one go? What size are you? 5/8. $15. Alright, we'll run these down with that and then I'll get the right thing to torque them, because these all need to get torqued too. I am never seizing all of these. They came off once. After being on for 30 years, I may need to get them off again. So, a little bit of never seize. Is never going to go amiss. I don't care what anyone says. I never seize my fasteners. I came from the land of rust. I want this stuff to behave themselves when I need them apart again. So just a little dollop will do. The other thing that I'm going to put back in right now are the retainer screws, also going to get never seized, for the dust shields. Now, I'm not putting those dust covers back on, because I am going to rebuild those at some point. But I don't want them shedding parts, and I need them for templates. So, we put those in. And then we put the Tin Man away, because this is not quite the second to last time we're going to need it. Now this, you just got to draw it on slow, which is why I'm doing this with a ratchet and not my electric ratchet. Alright, so that's the spindle reassembly. Last thing we got to do is put the pinch bolt in. Again, never seize. I put some on the collar too. So that's on. Now, last thing to tighten up is the track bar of the steering tie rod. There you go. All right. Same thing, never sees it. Alright, that will need torqued as well. So, let me go find the torque specs for that and the spindle. These require 7/8 and it's 51 to 73. There is a cotter pin hole there. '51 doesn't quite get this one. I'm gonna go up to 55. That should be good enough. All right, let me find the spindle and we go from there. All right, so the Haynes manual doesn't have this, but the service manual does. These nuts are 40 to 50 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna go 45 foot-pounds. So, and torque this the same way you'd torque a wheel on. Alright, so that's on. Now we gotta pull this out. Alright, you gotta pull that out so you can get the snap ring in. I gotta go find the snap ring. This is 65 to 85 foot-pounds. Yep. So we're gonna put that at 65. So this side, aside from putting the cotter pin in there, is all done. Other than greasing. Greasing is pretty easy and straightforward. We've got a little grease gun here. Okay, that's done. So the trick for these is you put in just enough until it starts to come out. Now, this little adapter snaps in and it goes into the again until a little bit of grease comes out of the grease seals. This is the clip. Does require a little bit of persuasion. That just keeps the spindle from backing itself out, or the axle from slipping down the tube. So that's how you do this. It's not bad. Next video is going to be replacing the shocks, or the struts. I'm going to do that when we have the rotors and the calipers off, just because the access is a little better. These shocks or struts have failed, so it is time to replace those. We'll pivot this out of the way and go from there. Then it will be brakes, wheel bearings, brakes, calipers, pads, and manual hubs. So 2 more videos on the front end, then we are onto the engine bay. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you found this useful. I'm going to turn some of these into shorts. We will see you next time. Sharps out.